You're listening to the Mindful Weight Loss Podcast, episode 86.
It's time to look at weight loss in a whole new way. Instead of focusing on calories in, calories out, you'll learn how to use your brain to transform your body and heal your relationship with food. If you're ready to lose your weight for the last time, you're in the right place. Because it's more than what you eat. It's who you are when you're eating. This is the Mindful Weight Loss Podcast. Here's your host, life and weight loss coach, Dr. Michelle Tupman.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, I am super excited to present an interview with Kate Glendon, where we dive into this idea of obstacles and how we can use our mindset to strategize for overcoming them and reaching the success that we want. Kate is an amazing woman, and I know you're going to love what she has to say because she focuses on helping women reframe their relationships and wellness through mindset coaching. She has been working as a certified life coach since 2022, and she specializes in helping people identify and achieve their personal goals by coping with the issues that are causing them distress, anxiety, and stress. She takes great pride in the progress and success of her clients, and she looks forward to helping you today on the podcast. She holds a master's degree in public health, and she has over 15 years of experience in community health promotion and prevention with a focus of total wellness. She's a woman after my own heart, and without further delay, here is the interview with Kate. All right, Kate, welcome to the Mindful Weight Loss Podcast. Excited to have you here.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here and to meet you, Michelle. Thank you.
We are going to have an amazing conversation about weight loss. But before we dig right into that, Kate, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am a life coach with, certified and mindset coach. And I got into this profession about a year ago because I really wanted to help others reframe their thinking and their beliefs and support them. Because many people get stuck and they can't move forward and they don't necessarily need a therapist. They just kind of need someone to coach them along through it. And often it's not about the weight loss, it's how we feel about it. And for someone that has struggled with weight loss in the past and have dealt with that for a majority of their lives, I know what it's like to always be thinking about food and your body and just like all the labels that come along with that. So it's important for me to help others kind of overcome that and, live a more peaceful and balanced life with food. I come with a background of master's in public health, and I think that's where I got, the fulfillment, by helping change a community, that now I can empower people individually through life coaching, talking about wellness and mindset and that ripple effect that it has on their life.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I've talked to so many healthcare professionals on this podcast, and I would consider you that, working in public health. And I think there's just this similarity between so many of us who have worked in public health or on the prevention side of things, seeing the value of coaching.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so important because we don't think about, that we don't have like someone to help us. Maybe we have a friend, but we don't have someone to like kind of be like completely vulnerable with and open up, and then having that person, tell me, like just curious, like where does this feeling come from? Or why do you think, this thought about this certain item or this certain person, or why do you feel the need to blame yourself and that guilt? And a lot of times we carry a lot of this guilt and worry that we don't need to. And so it's like we're wearing a whole bag of bricks on our back that, I like to help remove them, that we don't need, because we're filling our minds with things that aren't necessarily true. And it's my job to help you, figure that out so that you know where to go next, and to realize like to feel lighter, that you have a purpose and that you are on the right path. And people need that. Most people don't have that. They don't have that in the workplace. Maybe they have it in the home and with family or with friends, but a life coach is different. They're there to coach you through the tough times and to really get down to the deeper reason why you're not taking action on the thing that you want to move forward with, such as a goal. It's because of what you're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's such a powerful sentence. It's because of what you're thinking. And you also talked about believing things are true. And I feel like this is the crux of the problem with weight loss is so many women have these thoughts about themselves or their bodies or weight loss or food or whatever that they believe is true, and it's not. They've just lived with those thoughts for so long that it feels true to them, and it's often these thoughts that are actually preventing their weight loss at the end of the day.
Absolutely, because it could be a statement that their friend told them, and that's the reason why they lost weight. So they believe it to be true and they try to do it and it doesn't work for them,
Right.
right? Because everyone's body's unique and loses weight at certain times, and everything is so different. You can't just take one program fits all. It just doesn't work that way. And the more that we think that if you eat past 8 p.m. you're gonna gain weight, or if you eat this item, all of these things that we tell ourselves or we hear in the media, they get, mixed and mimic, and we don't even realize that. And some of it comes from, our inner child paradigm where, you picked up traits from your family that you just don't even realize until someone points that out to you.
Yeah. And that's exactly the value of coaching, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you don't know anything else. So until someone asks you to explain something or change the way you're thinking or help you to think like, well, why does it have to be that way? It doesn't have to be that way. You're choosing it to be that way.
Yeah.
And it's just taking that first step, because every time you don't take that first step, you're just feeling worse and worse about it, and you're not growing. You're not moving anywhere forward. So, whether it's taking the leap of, looking for a new career. For instance, if you're not actively looking and applying and you're just saying you're wanting a new career, you're just going to kind of be in this dance with yourself because you're not doing anything. And then you're feeling bad for it, or that in your intentions to be in a different weight by the end of the year. And part of that is moving 3 days a week to the gym. If you're not doing that, because I want to know, like, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts about that? Is that too big of a goal? What's preventing you from doing what you said you were going to do?
Yeah. And I think that is such a powerful question. What's preventing you from doing what you want to do? Because I think one of the most common concerns I hear from women who are trying to lose weight is they'll say, I know exactly what I have to do. I just don't do it. And I feel stuck.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Like, just curious, like, why are you feeling stuck? Like, if you know what to do, like, what happens when you know what to do and then you don't do it? Is there something that you distract yourself with? Like, do you see, like, oh, now you have to do it, like put away the laundry? Or, are you waiting till like the very end of the day to work out when maybe you're tired, or there's always something that happens if you're a mom that you have to take care of? Like, so what's going on here? Like, there's a disconnect, and let's kind of figure out where this is. And sometimes it's these some assumptions or things that we think may happen, like, oh, people are going to know I'm new. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
And what does it matter if they do know this is your first time for the gym? Most people are so busy about like working out in themselves and making sure they're doing their exercise correctly, because they're not going to really notice and that this is your first time at the gym, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes that prevents people. It's like, I don't want to have to ask someone how to use the machine, right? Well, that's why they have trainers there for. And you could be an active gym goer. You just switch gyms.
Right. So this is a perfect example of one of those things you believe to be true, that isn't necessarily true, such as, I'm afraid to go to the gym because I don't want to be the new one. I don't want people to look at me. And there's probably a million other reasons women have for not doing what they need to do, that they hold to be true that isn't actually true. And I think another reason why women don't follow through is because they're not defining a goal that's realistic for themselves, right? So deciding that they're going to go to the gym 6 days a week might feel like way too much, just not even possible inside, their current lifestyle. And so they feel defeated before they even start. So sometimes it's about looking at the thoughts that are holding you back. Sometimes it's also looking at the goal that you've actually defined for yourself and seeing, can we make this a little bit more realistic? Can we change it somehow so that you're more likely to do it? Because I find once women start getting a little bit of forward momentum, then the wheels start to turn again and we see some progress.
Absolutely. And when we are making goals, I always, try to say maybe intentions, right? Like, or goals that, where do you want to see yourself at the end of the year? Do you still want to be stuck where you are now? Like, remind yourself like why you're making this goal. It should be a little bit scary, right? Because it's new and it's change and you're going out of your comfort zone. But if there's no desire or passion behind the goal, you're kind of not going to achieve it. And if it's so extreme that like you never go to the gym, you're not going to go 6 days a week, right? Or you're going to hurt yourself because you're going to be sore. So for those clients that I have that want to be more active, okay, add on an extra 10 minutes or just start with 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you can do that, like, so you just break it down by pieces. And that's kind of how I help you. Like, you have this goal, let's map it out for the year. You tell me what's reasonable for your life, your family. And then like when things don't work out as I guide you through it, that's where I step in and be like, okay, you had a good 20-day streak. What happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why didn't you continue with that behavior change that you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about that because we're going to have triggers in life and, change isn't easy. If it was easy, everyone would be changing and be perfect and, wouldn't be thinking thoughts about themselves. But, sometimes there's events that happen or people say something to you and it gets you off course and let's just get back on it, we'll work through whatever happened to prevent that and help you prepare for the future. But it's really about like, okay, what are thoughts and feelings that I'm having and what's actually facts? So sometimes just writing it all out is like so helpful and just circling what is true because we have thoughts and feelings, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's actually true. It could just be a worry. And we're worrying about things that are usually like, negative things, right? Instead of positive things, like instead of saying like, this is going to be, a positive experience. So if you're going to the grocery store with a negative attitude that you don't want to wait in a line, I can guarantee you're going to get into a line that moves very slow.
Right.
So,
Yep.
it's things like that. It's just like kind of, okay, like slow down and realize what's going on and change that. So like you're finding the positive. Maybe you needed to sit in line and chill out because you've been going nonstop all day and it's a moment away from, work and family and friends and social media. And you can sit there and just kind of observe and rethink about the things in your cart, maybe, so.
Yeah. And, so much good stuff in there, Kate. But one of the things that really worked for me when I started incorporating more movement into my own life was using comfy clothes and music. So I love the way my body feels after a workout. I love the way a workout feels halfway through the workout. I hate the way it feels in the first 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes of every workout I do feels terrible until I get into it. And for the longest time, I was focusing on how that first, few minutes felt rather than how the whole rest of the workout and how I feel after the workout felt. And so to encourage me to go to the gym, which is just in my basement, by the way, don't even have to go far for it. I went and bought, gym clothes, and it's very cold in the basement in the mornings, which is when I work out. And I got this super comfy sweatshirt to wear while I warm up. It just feels so luxurious. And I put music on, through we've got one of those Google Play things. So I just tell Google to start playing my music before I'm even down there. And so I walk into this space feeling warm and cozy in my outfit, hearing music that's already pumping me up. And then that helps me get through, my first few minutes. But what prevented me for quite a long time was thinking about how horrible it's gonna feel for those first couple of minutes. And that was a really effective strategy
That
for
is
me personally.
awesome. Yeah, that's such a
Yeah.
good strategy. I love that you did that because you're right. I always tell people like try to get for the first 7 minutes. This first 7 minutes, you're gonna have an internal battle of I want to leave. This I could be doing so many things, and then you kind of get in the rhythm of it. When I used to run, they always used to tell us like never judge your like the length of like how your run's gonna go by the first mile
Right.
because you're just like getting your piece and getting into it and like changing your mind over from whatever you were doing before to this is what I'm doing now, this is what I'm committing to. And it's so easy just to walk away. But when you do that, it also is now you have that feeling you kind of walked away, you quit. But like you're right, like, there are certain parts of the workout that are going to feel amazing. And there's certain parts that aren't, but it's like getting through the hardest parts is, makes the next workout better and helps you get through the next, first 5 minutes of every workout. So it's just like keep going, even if it's just try another minute. And like that's right. Like if you have to buy like something to get to that goal, whether it be like something cozy or, you know, something like fun to do, a new purse to put like, a new water bottle, anything to get you to go do that action. Well, be great. What happens is we buy all these things and then we don't take the action now that we have it because, oh my God, my new sneakers came and now I actually have to do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's in my basement, even if it's next to my, desk or whatever.
Right.
So it's a change of doing something different and it takes time and like what if you don't try, you're not growing, you're just going to stay in the same spot. So like, is that really where you want to be? Then maybe that's not your goal for the year.
And I think it's also important to ask people why they want to make that change and make sure they really understand those reasons on a deep level. Because what I find with many women is it's not actually weight loss that they want, it's what they think the weight loss is going to give them. Right. And so,
Right.
right. So, some women will say that they just want to feel like they have more energy. They want to be able to move more freely. Right. And if that's the case, then maybe focusing on movement is more important right now. Other women will say, I've got pre-diabetes. I don't want to progress to diabetes, and then maybe we focus instead on nutrition and movement comes a little bit later, right? So I feel like really identifying why you want to focus on your health or weight loss helps get some buy-in in terms of the change process as well.
Yes, absolutely. Because like if you don't have, sometimes you have to wait until you get that, news from the doctor that, right? Like you have to do something because you're pre-diabetic, so that's usually what makes people do something is they're reacting to bad news. You can
Mhm.
prevent that by doing that. And, just like with anything, if you're set on a number, on a scale, in clothing, you're always going to want more, right? You could have $1 million. Now you want to get $2 million. Like it doesn't do anything but make you want it more. Like you have to change internally. Like your
Mhm.
self-image about yourself, you should love it at any size, right? It's easy said than done.
Mhm.
But if you're not loving yourself now, why would you love yourself at that size?
Yeah.
You're still gonna have some confidence that you're gonna need to work on and build because just because you move more, or you're out of the pre-diabetic zone, doesn't mean that you're going to come with all this confidence and health that you may see, or energy, right? Like, so there's other things that or that we work through too, so that you can get to where you want to be, but also embrace and know what that feels like in your body, where you're really owning it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that whole self-love piece is its own muscle that we have to build. And, one question that I love to encourage people to ask themselves is, what decision would I make right now if I truly loved myself? And like that, many people find that such a powerful question, because if we're turning, to food for emotional reasons, or if we're wanting to punish ourselves with exercise because of decisions we made around food, or, all of these things that maybe to the outside world looks like we're doing things to encourage our health, but really on the inside we're making bad choices for ourselves. Asking yourself, what would I do if I actually loved myself? How would I move my body right now? What would I choose to eat? And that question has been so transformative for so many people, because I don't think many actually realize how terrible they're treating themselves until they stop to look at it from the framework of that question. I find it just happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As someone that used to, feel guilty or not go out or punish with exercise or just be crazy, no one knows you're punishing yourself but yourself. So why put yourself through that mental war? Like, it's a journey. It's not supposed to, it's supposed to ebb and flow. And, it's so hard when you're so fully consumed about food that you cannot see anything else.
Mhm.
And, it's okay if you don't work out 6 days a week.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And, it's just a limit we actually put on ourselves of what we can do. What if you just say you're going to move your body and see where it takes you?
Yeah.
And instead of, feeling like you have to reach for something, or, let's say your intention is to do 150 minutes of exercise this week. I
Mhm.
want to see how you do it and have it being more free. It may take a while to lose weight and change your mind, but how would your life benefit in 6 months from now if you took the change?
Right.
Or
And
would
if
you
you Yeah. And if you even just took the first step, like I've had numerous women as guests on this podcast who have told stories of wanting to run a 5K race, for instance, but never having run before, not having any sort of movement routine in their life. And, this one woman talked about literally the first step she took for weeks was just putting her running shoes on. She didn't even go out the front door. She just started putting her running shoes on. And then she made it to the end of the driveway. And then she would walk to the mailbox and back. And then she would walk around the block. And after several months, she was almost at, the 5K. And it literally started with her just putting her running shoes on, because that's where she felt she struggled the most, was actually, getting started and going out. And so she just focused on getting into that habit of putting the running shoes on. And then she got to a place where it was actually quite easy for her to then make the decision to just go out the front door.
That is such a good example. I mean, you don't have to make these dramatic changes. It's just okay, I'm just going to eat, 10 chips tonight instead of, 20 chips, right? Or I'm not going to buy Coke this week, so it's just, doing it every day. I'm going to cut it in half. These little changes that you make, these 1% changes over time add up to a lot in a year.
Yeah.
So, I think we just have to be more grateful and give ourselves grace for every little change that we make, right? That's not
Absolutely.
easy.
Yeah, and we call them 1% wins, inside my programming, right? It's just, how can you be just 1% better? How can you push yourself just 1% farther down the road? That's all you need. Doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I like to make vision statements for my clients of what they want their life to look like. And then I have them listen to it so that they can remind themselves of how that feels.
Yeah.
Like with that achieved in a year and how that, what would that person wear and what would that person go on vacation and just start
Yeah.
to embody it and start showing up as that person. And maybe it's just that person, isn't buying processed food that week or, is telling themselves 3 things they love about themselves
Yeah.
3 times a week just to start feeling better.
Right. And we do similar exercises as well. And I find where people need a lot of coaching is, there's point A where you're at right now. There's point B, which is this you that you envision, down the road when you've reached your goal. And then there's everything that happens in between. And we have lots of tools to help people get there in terms of, creating new habits and setting goals and, making decisions that their future self would make. And that's all fantastic. But I think equally important is understanding that you're not going to move from point A to point B, with the snap of your fingers, that there's actually some work that has to happen in between there. And that means sometimes still spending a little bit more time at point A and, being compassionate with yourself and understanding, with yourself if you're not making all the changes that you hope to right away. Right. Because the process, change is a process. It's not something that we just decide is going to happen and then it's done. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that you just have to kind of understand that, don't put a limit on it. If it takes you 2 years to complete this change, that's awesome. You completed it and you'll keep carrying that on. And, we don't limit ourselves with stuff and we have to understand and get to understand why you're thinking these thoughts and feelings so that you can move forward. And that's, I think, the benefit of having a life coach is that they can help you understand why you're doing what you're doing. And just because people eat big family dinners every Sunday night and that's how you grow up doesn't mean you have to continue doing that.
Exactly.
There's ways to balance your life to fit with activities, with food, with exercise. And sometimes you just need someone else to kind of help you rethink how to schedule your day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to ask a question. Something that's just been coming up in my own coaching circles a lot lately is just this idea of thinking that, tomorrow or Monday or January 1st is going to be this magical time where we don't have any stress anymore, that, somehow tomorrow we're going to have all of the time and the emotional space to work on our goals. And so let's just wait till tomorrow. And, that time never comes, right? There's just never going to be a perfect time when the circumstances of our lives are going to, the heavens are going to open and go, oh, now you may change, right? Life is always getting in the way and throwing us these curveballs. And so do you have any advice for women who are stuck in that cycle of, I'll start tomorrow because it'll be
Right.
easier tomorrow?
Right. I'm so grateful I live in a world that has holidays and things to celebrate. So saying that you're going to start when the holidays are over, holidays go all year round. So you
Right?
have to pick a day, right? And everyone picks Monday. I don't know why. Mondays are tough. I mean, you're getting off the weekend, you're sluggish, some people go to work. But I think like someone told me once, just because you had one bad meal experience or day, you wouldn't throw away a car because it had a flat tire, would you?
Yeah.
No, you'd fix the tire and keep going. And just because something happened, you don't just get to wait. You have to fix the car because you need a car to go to point A to point B to go to your job. Like You can't just wait for something to fall out of the sky and it be the perfect time. You make the time. And that's, we work a lot about calendar blocking. So, okay, work on your goals. How long is your commute? Can you listen to a podcast on? Are you moving? Okay, can that be the time that you're listening to your recordings and working on your goal? Can you wake up 15 minutes earlier and do some goal setting in the morning or before bed? There's times, it's just how we choose to use it, right? Mm-hmm. Like the excuse is, oh, I'm too busy. I have this weekend. I have this. It's not that you're too busy. You're just not managing your time correctly. So let's figure out where you're wasting it and put it in there and then show up even though you don't want to do it. Like I always like to leave Fridays for things that have gotten pushed off all week that need to get addressed, and that way you can just start the weekend fresh or the next day without it, kind of coming up. And if you're having this pattern of pushing things off, it's probably very scary for you to start this change. And that's where we would start.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm guessing for a lot of people, it's, there's so many fears there, fear of failure, fear of being successful, fear of the unknown, lots of reasons why people don't really want to get started that they blame on time.
Absolutely. I mean, time gets blamed for everything, poor clocks, but it's really just the way that you're thinking about time and using your time. And, that's okay. We're just going to teach you a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I always like to use myself as an example because I'm an emergency doctor. I'm busy. I'm also the chief of staff of my hospital. So I've got my admin role there. I've got, my family and I have my coaching career and I host this podcast and I still find time to make it down to the gym most days of the week. My husband and I still block out time every single Sunday to do our meal planning for the week. We still cook, at home almost every single meal every month. And we cook with fresh veggies and we still, find the time. My husband has 2 jobs as well. He's a IT professional by day and a firefighter by night. And so he's, very busy as well. And we still find all the time that we need to devote to our marriage that we've decided we want to do, to exercise and to create meals. And so I feel like if I can do it with my busy life and my busy family, other women can too. And it was, and it's not like I was born this way. I wasn't. My husband and I had to be very, very intentional about setting aside the time to do this. And we had to make some decisions. That meant, maybe a little bit less TV for me, maybe a little less video gaming for him. And those were, some trade-offs that we, decided in our marriage to make in favor of our health. So, you're right. It's about looking for where there is time rather than focusing on where there's not.
Yes. And I mean, that is so wonderful that you're able to have that and have that time and, that success. And like, so it is possible, like you just showed us an example, that having all that stuff career-wise and life-wise, and you can find the time. But sometimes people don't have all that and they don't realize where their time is going or, and so I think that's also important too, because you're a perfect example of how you had to work to kind of schedule that all in and, you do that, give you an A+. And, there's other people that have all this, they have the time. They're just different ways that they're using it. And I think, finding out like where your client is using their time and why is always where like I kind of gives me an understanding of what's important to them and what's, not so important to them, but they want to change that. Right. So, and you and your husband wanted to change. And so you consciously made the effort and you keep doing it. I'm sure it's second nature by you by now.
I've done a lot of studying around time management and, read some books and done the programs and, all of these things. And always the most valuable exercise for me has been to do a time audit and to compare that to a list of my values and see, where those things are congruent and where there's not. Right. And that was really eye opening for me because, I was spending, a lot of time scrolling, online shopping, watching TV. And then, my values of, connection and learning and other things were not being met because I was spending too much time doing these other things. And it was easy for me to make changes when I saw how I wasn't living in accordance with my values, based on how I was choosing to spend my time. So, like, that was a really valuable exercise for me, to go through. And I often recommend, women who are struggling with time, to go through that as well, because I find if people sit down and estimate how much time they spend doing the different things, that they do in their life, they're always way off, right? They always underestimate the amount of time they sit in front of the TV, right? And overestimate the amount of time they spend, with their spouses or with their kids or, with their pets or whatever it is. So I find that's
That's
valuable.
awesome. Yeah, like I think
Yeah,
that's really good, like a time audit too.
yeah,
You could do that with food, like what you're really, writing it down, and then like what you're
yes,
really eating is could be different. You could be overeating or under eating, but it shows, Michelle, that you have the commitment to kind of want to get control of your time.
mhm,
And that was so important for you, right? So that's, that worked for you because you have that desire. And I think, like, when you make these changes and have these goals to change a behavior, there has to be like a why behind it. Like, what is your why for
the
doing
why.
it?
Yeah.
And you have, and just explain two big whys. And I think that's why you're so successful,
Yeah.
right?
So, it's funny because in my course, the first thing that my clients have to do is discover what we call their why power. And they go through, some values exercises and, some other things to come up with the reason why they want to lose weight. And almost every woman who's been through that program tells me that was the hardest part of all of it. Sometimes women will spend a month or more grappling with these questions because they've just never really thought about it before. It shocks me how many women want to lose weight because, somebody's told them that they have to. And they've never really thought about, whether or not they actually want it for themselves and why they want it for themselves. And it's even just exploring that question, why, is transformative for many, many people.
Wow, that is very powerful, right? Because
Yeah.
that these women are actually taking the time to focus on them, and they probably haven't. And it's like, okay, yes, like I know, like the why. Well, the scale says so, but like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They know they don't, but they don't really know why. Like, why is it so important, to pick up this new habit? And I think, what, why, do you need to do this, and how is that going to make you feel and how it affect your life? Or why is it that you want to change your careers? Like, what is it about it? What is it about your relationship with your spouse or your partner that wants you to have a divorce? Like, have you ever asked yourself like what you want in this situation? Or why are you so mad that you never get to pick vacations? What would you like to do? I mean, because often as women, we just go with the flow and no one ever asks us, like, what do we need? We're always
Right.
caring for others and worrying about what other people think. Like, let's focus on ourselves and build that self love and self confidence so that we have our power and our voice. And I think that's what I've definitely done over the past year. And it's very vulnerable process, and there's tears and there's frustrations and there's tons of patterns that you have to break. And but once you get through that side, because the desire is so strong, so empowering.
Yeah, so true. You bring up a good point. I think so many women have never been given the opportunity to think about what they want or what they need for themselves. That they're always focused on, being the caretakers for everyone else in their lives and putting everyone else's needs first. And, I have an exercise where I ask women to set a timer during the course of the day and just check in and ask, what do I really need right now? And when most women start this, they have no freaking clue. They can't tell me what they need or what they want. And I think it's absolutely heartbreaking, but such a beautiful thing to witness when they break through to the other side and are able to say, this is what I want for my life. This is what me or my body needs right now. And say it with, pure confidence. It's a beautiful thing, but absolutely devastating to see that so many women can't even answer that question for themselves when you initially ask them.
Absolutely. And it's like, when's the last time you actually took a deep breath? Everyone breathes so short because we're so busy or we're so worried or we're so anxious. And breathing is important. It helps, like, obviously as a doctor, you might know, in the healthcare field, like, you need to breathe and breathe and kind of get composure. And that helps you get composure of your thoughts and
Yes.
helps you kind of get it out of your head a little bit. It's just, some deep breathing because we have such shallow breaths.
Oh, we do. We do. And, we always have everybody has this posture of shoulders up, to the ears, hunched over, right? Even just, relaxing your body and straightening the back and allowing that big deep breath makes a huge difference in how we're thinking and how we're feeling.
Absolutely. And it's important that we take moments to breathe and to, take that 1% win of the day.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right, Kate, I'm not sure how much longer my voice is going to last.
You did so good. So I'm
Right?
just happy that we're able to connect. It was beautifully talking to you and it was an honor.
Likewise, Kate, it was great to have you here. If listeners would like to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Sure. I have a website. It's glendoncoaching.com. And then on that website, if you do sign up for our newsletter, or there is a link, all people will get a free session with me. So definitely
Okay.
go to the website and you can find me on Instagram at @HeyGlendon_coaching as well.
Wonderful. Okay. And I will make sure both of those are in the show notes for listeners as well so that they can find you. And before we sign off today, Kate, any last words of wisdom you'd like to share?
I think that everyone listening, every night should write down 3 things that they're grateful for. And if 3 things didn't go they wanted to do, resolve them and write how you want, forgive yourself. And, what are you gonna, resolve it before you go to sleep.
Oh, I love that. Brilliant advice. All right. Thanks so much, Kate.
Yes. Have a good night.